People love to tell you, but that's your family. As if sharing blood gives someone permission to cross your boundaries. As if years of emotional damage are cancelled out by shared DNA. As if growing up under the same roof means you must accept disrespect for the rest of your life. But here is a truth most people are afraid to say out loud. Some of your deepest wounds didn't come from enemies. They came from relatives. Strangers can only hurt you from the outside. Family hurts you from the inside, because they know your history, your fears, your weak spots, and your longing to belong. They know precisely what to say. They know precisely where to strike. And they know you were trained from childhood to stay silent, to be loyal, to endure. That's why toxic family dynamics hold such power. They don't look like abuse at first. They look like love, tradition, obligation, like that's just how we are. But over time, what feels like loyalty becomes a cage. What feels like love becomes control. And what feels like family becomes a place where your peace is under constant attack. Stoic philosophy teaches something brutal but freeing: no relationship is sacred. If it destroys your soul, you are allowed to grow beyond the people who raised you. You are allowed to question what you were taught. And you are allowed to walk away from anything that requires you to betray yourself just to belong. In this video, we are exposing 20 behaviors that should never be tolerated, not from friends, not from partners, and especially not from family. Because protecting your peace isn't selfish. It is survival. Before we begin, I want to share something personal. I receive many messages from people who feel surrounded by fake friends, constant drama, or emotional chaos. They just want a place to be real. That's why I created a Patreon community, a private space where you can open up, share what you're going through, and receive my personal insights. It's also where you can request specific video topics. If there's something you're struggling with that you'd like me to break down here on the channel, this is the place. If you're serious about growth, peace, and self-awareness, you'll fit right in. The link is below. Now, let's begin. Here are things fake people always say and the hidden truth behind each one. 1. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail is one of the most invisible and powerful forms of abuse. It doesn't always come with shouting or insults. Sometimes it comes with tears. Sometimes with silence. Sometimes with a trembling voice saying, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me." That sentence alone has destroyed more boundaries than rage ever could. Because emotional blackmail doesn't try to win through force. It wins through guilt. It works by making you feel like a bad person for having needs, like a traitor for choosing yourself, like a villain for saying no. In toxic families, emotional blackmail becomes a culture. You are raised to believe love is measured by how much you suffer, how much you sacrifice, how much of yourself you give up to keep everyone else comfortable. So when you try to set a boundary, you don't just face resistance, you face emotional punishment. They cry, they withdraw, they tell others you've changed. They remind you of everything they ever did for you, not to understand you, but to control you. How emotional blackmail works. At its core, emotional blackmail follows a simple formula: fear, obligation, guilt. First, they create fear, fear of losing their love, fear of rejection, fear the family will turn against you. Then they activate obligation: you owe us. We raised you. We sacrificed. Finally, they pour on guilt: you're selfish. You're breaking the family. Before you know it, your decision is no longer about what's right for you, it's about stopping their emotional reaction. Why it's so powerful in families? Family is where your nervous system was trained. From childhood, you learn what made people happy or angry, when love was given and when it was taken away. So when a parent, sibling, or relative uses emotional blackmail, it triggers something deep and primal. Your body remembers being small. Your mind remembers being dependent. Your heart remembers needing their approval to survive. That's why a sentence like, "I guess I just don't matter to you anymore," can feel like a punch to the chest. They aren't just speaking to the adult you, they are speaking to the child you used to be. The hidden cost of giving in. Every time you surrender to emotional blackmail, something quiet happens inside you. You tell yourself, "My feelings don't matter. My needs are selfish. I should just keep the peace. Slowly, you stop knowing what you actually want. You start making choices based on who will be upset. You measure your life by other people's emotions. You shrink your dreams so no one feels threatened. This is how people lose themselves in families, not through cruelty, but through constant emotional pressure. What emotional blackmail sounds like. It often hides behind innocent words. I guess I'm just a bad parent, then. I did so much for you, and this is my reward. If you loved me, you wouldn't do this. You've changed. Everyone else agrees with me. These aren't statements, they are emotional traps designed to make you defend yourself instead of standing your ground. Why they do it? People use emotional blackmail when they are terrified of losing control. They don't know how to communicate needs or respect boundaries, they only know how to manipulate emotions. So when you grow, when you become independent, when you stop living for their approval, they panic, and panic turns into guilt-tripping. Stoic wisdom on emotional blackmail. The Stoics believed no one can control your mind unless you allow them to. They taught that guilt, shame, and fear are external pressures, not commands. You can love someone and still say no. You can respect someone and still refuse to be controlled. You can be kind and still protect your peace. How to break free. The moment you stop explaining yourself to emotional blackmailers, their power weakens. Don't argue. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. Simply say, this is my decision. And let them feel whatever they choose to feel, because their emotions are not your responsibility. Final truth. Love does not demand suffering. Family does not require self-betrayal. Guilt is not proof that you are wrong, it is often proof that someone else is losing control. Emotional blackmail keeps people trapped in roles they've outgrown. And the bravest thing you can ever do in a toxic family is choose yourself anyway. 2. Constant comparison. Constant comparison is one of the most psychologically destructive behaviors a family can inflict, because it attacks not what you do, but who you are. It sounds harmless at first, why can't you be more like your sister? Your cousin already bought a house. Look how successful he is. But these words don't motivate, they erase. They tell you over and over that you are not enough unless you become someone else. In toxic families, comparison becomes a weapon. It's how insecure people feel powerful without ever improving themselves. They take your uniqueness and turn it into a flaw. How comparison destroys identity. When you're constantly compared, you stop asking, who am I, and start asking, why am I not like them? You don't get to explore your talents, move at your pace, or fail, learn, and grow naturally. You are judged against someone else's timeline, personality, and path. And the message sinks deep, you are behind. You are inferior. You are disappointing. That message doesn't fade with age, it becomes a voice in your head. Why families use comparison? People compare when they are emotionally immature. They don't know how to encourage or communicate, so they shame. Comparison allows them to avoid real parenting, real support, real understanding. Instead of asking, what do you need, they ask, why aren't you like them? It's lazy, cruel, and deeply damaging. The invisible damage. Children raised with constant comparison grow into adults who never feel satisfied, who chase approval instead of purpose, who fear being seen, who compete instead of connect, who sabotage their own success. They don't feel proud of who they are, they feel relieved when they aren't criticized. That isn't confidence. That's survival. Comparison creates sibling rivalry. Toxic families turn siblings into competitors. Instead of allies, you become rivals fighting for love. One child is the successful one is the disappointment, one is the favorite, one is the problem. These labels stick for decades, and everyone suffers. The real reason it hurts so much. Comparison hurts because it tells you something devastating, your existence is not enough. You must perform, impress, and outperform others just to earn basic respect. That creates a lifetime of exhaustion. Stoic perspective. The Stoics taught that every human has a unique path. A tree does not compete with a river. A mountain does not envy the sky. You were not created to live someone else's life, you were created to live yours. Breaking free. The moment you stop trying to win their approval, comparison loses its power. You don't have to be the best, first, or them. You only have to be you. Final truth. Families that constantly compare you are not trying to help you succeed, they are trying to make you doubt yourself. And the most rebellious thing you can ever do in that environment is become comfortable with who you are, because nothing terrifies toxic people more than someone who no longer needs their approval. 3. Financial control. Financial control is one of the most silent, devastating, and normalized forms of abuse inside families, because it doesn't look like cruelty. It looks like help, support, sacrifice. It looks like a parent paying your school fees, a relative giving you a place to stay, a family member stepping in when you're struggling. But slowly, something shifts. The help stops being about love and starts being about power. When support becomes a weapon. In healthy families, money is a tool to help someone become independent. In toxic families, money is used to prevent independence. They don't ask, "What do you want to build?" They ask, "What do you owe us?" Every payment becomes a reminder, every favor a debt, every gift a hook in your soul. You're never allowed to forget who rescued you, not so you can feel grateful, but so you can feel indebted. The invisible contract. Toxic family money always comes with an unspoken contract. We support you, so you must obey us. You don't sign this contract, you're born into it. It controls where you live, who you date, what career you choose, what you believe, how loudly you speak, whether you're allowed to say no. They don't have to threaten you directly, the fear lives inside you. How financial control keeps you small. When your survival depends on someone else, your nervous system stays in child mode. You become careful, quiet, agreeable, not because you're weak, but because your body is trying to stay safe. You don't take risks, speak your truth, or live unhealthy situations, because every decision is filtered through one question: what will happen to me if they take their money away? That isn't living, that's emotional captivity. Why it feels so confusing? Financial control is confusing because it's wrapped in generosity. They'll say, "I'm doing this for you. We are sacrificing. You should be grateful." And maybe they are helping. But the moment they use that help to silence you, shame you, or force obedience, it stops being support and becomes ownership. The guilt trap. Toxic families train you to feel guilty for wanting independence. They frame freedom as betrayal. If you move out, you're ungrateful. If you get your own income, you're arrogant. If you stop asking for help, you're forgetting where you came from. They don't want you strong, they want you dependent. Because dependence keeps you controllable. What financial abuse sounds like? It hides behind phrases like, "After everything we've done for you, you wouldn't be here without us. You owe us. We can take this away. Don't forget who pays." These words don't just hurt, they program you. They teach you that love must be paid for with obedience. How it destroys your self-worth. When money is tied to love, you start believing you only deserve care if you perform. You feel ashamed for needing, wanting, dreaming. You feel small, not because you are, but because someone benefits from you believing you are. Why they do it? Financial control isn't about money, it's about fear. They are afraid you leave, outgrow them, stop needing them. So they keep you tethered, not with chains you can see, but with fear you can feel. The Stoic truth. The Stoics taught that the greatest freedom is self-reliance, not wealth, luxury, or comfort, but freedom. Anyone who tries to buy your obedience isn't generous, they are afraid of losing power over you. Breaking free. Breaking free from financial control isn't easy. It means discomfort, uncertainty, stepping into your own strength. But every step toward independence weakens their grip. Every dollar you earn is a piece of your soul coming back to you. Final truth. Money that comes with control is not a gift, it's a cage. And no matter how comfortable that cage looks, you were never meant to live inside it. 4. Ignoring your boundaries. When someone ignores your boundaries, they aren't being careless, they are being honest. They are showing you exactly how they see you, not as a person, but as property. In toxic families, boundaries are treated like insults, privacy like betrayal, independence like rebellion. You're expected to be open, available, obedient at all times. And the moment you pull back, the punishment begins. Why boundaries terrify toxic families? Boundaries say one dangerous thing: you don't own me. To a controlling family, that feels like abandonment. They build their identity around having access to you, your thoughts, emotions, time, choices. So when you set a boundary, they don't hear self-respect, they hear loss of control. How boundary violations look. It isn't always loud. Sometimes it's reading your private messages, going through your room, demanding explanations, showing up uninvited, telling others your personal business, making decisions for you, ignoring your no, and when you object, they say, "We are family. You shouldn't have secrets. You're being disrespectful." But boundaries aren't disrespect, they are protection. The psychological damage. When your boundaries are ignored, something breaks inside you. You stop trusting your instincts, listening to discomfort, knowing where you end and others begin. You become hyper-aware of everyone else's needs and disconnected from your own. This is how people become pleasers. This is how anxiety is born. This is how identity is erased. Why you feel guilty for saying no? Because you were trained to from childhood. Love was given when you complied, taken away when you resisted. So now, when you protect yourself, your nervous system reacts like you're in danger, not because you're wrong, but because you were conditioned to survive by surrendering. What boundary violations sound like? Why are you so distant now? You've changed. What are you hiding? We used to be close. Family shouldn't need boundaries. These aren't loving words, they're emotional pressure designed to make you doubt yourself. Why they won't stop? Because ignoring your boundaries has always worked. They get access, information, control. And every time you give in, you teach them they don't have to respect you. Stoic truth. The Stoics believed peace comes from knowing what is yours to protect: your mind, your dignity, your inner world. No one has the right to invade that, not even family. How to take your power back? Don't argue, explain, or apologize. Set the boundary and enforce it. Silence is a boundary. Distance is a boundary. Leaving is a boundary. Final truth. People who ignore your boundaries do not love you, they love access. And the moment you stop giving them unlimited access, you discover who they really are. 5. Shaming you for wanting more. One of the most insidious forms of toxicity in families is shaming someone for wanting more. It doesn't come as a scream or insult. It comes as subtle words, sighs, disappointment, disguised as concern, advice, keeping you grounded. But beneath it lies something darker: fear, insecurity, control. When a family member shames you for wanting more, they aren't concerned about your well-being, they are concerned about their comfort, their ego, their perception of themselves in your success. It often begins quietly. Why do you need so much? Be grateful for what you have. You're changing. People like us don't do that. Slowly, these words shape your mind. They make ambition feel wrong, growth feel like betrayal, wanting more feel like arrogance. How shaming destroys you. When family shames your ambition, it attacks your identity. You start questioning: am I selfish for wanting better? Do I deserve this? Am I abandoning them by choosing more? You begin to shrink your dreams, lower your goals, apologize for wanting joy, success, independence. Over time, you stop asking what you want altogether. You measure your life by what others deem acceptable. You silence your ambition so no one feels threatened. This is how people betray themselves, not through force, but through quiet manipulation. Why families do it? Shaming your ambition has nothing to do with you, it has everything to do with them. Your growth threatens them. Your drive reminds them of the dreams they gave up on, the chances they didn't take, the risks they avoided, the life they never built. Instead of facing their regrets, they attempt to keep you small. They make your ambition feel selfish, your success feel like disloyalty. And so, wanting more becomes a crime in their eyes. The guilt trap. Toxic families are masters of guilt. They'll say, be grateful for what you have. You already have enough. Don't get too big for your own good. Why do you need more when others struggle? Slowly, you internalize it. You start to believe ambition is selfish. You start to hide your goals, lower your expectations, apologize for wanting more as if ambition itself is a crime. This is psychological imprisonment. How it sounds in daily life. Shaming for ambition comes in many forms. You've changed. Money isn't everything. You're acting too proud. Don't forget where you came from. Success changes people. People like us don't do those things. On the surface, these seem like guidance, but in reality, they are chains. They teach you to limit yourself, condition you to shrink for the comfort of others. Why it hurts so deeply? Family is where we first learn what we are allowed to be. When the people closest to you shame your ambition, it cuts deeper than any stranger ever could. It isn't just about the words, it's about identity, belonging, love. That's why you start to feel that wanting more is a betrayal of loyalty, selfish for desiring freedom, greedy for wanting comfort, ungrateful for wanting a better life. But none of that is true. You are not betraying anyone by growing. Stoic wisdom. The Stoics taught that growth and virtue are natural. A seed is meant to become a tree. A flame is meant to rise. A human being is meant to expand. You are not here to live a small life just to make others comfortable. You are not here to conform to the insecurities of people too afraid to grow themselves. Desire for more freedom, joy, purpose, is not arrogance. It is life itself. How to protect yourself. Recognize the shame for what it is, not about your ambition, but about their fear. Don't explain your dreams, some people only hear your future as a threat. Stop apologizing for wanting more, desire is not selfish. Create emotional distance if necessary, toxic opinions lose power when you remove their access to your inner world. Celebrate your progress privately if needed, you don't need validation to grow. Final truth. People who shame you for wanting more are not afraid for you, they are afraid of being left behind. They are afraid your light will expose their shadows. And the greatest rebellion, the greatest revenge, the greatest freedom you can ever achieve is to become everything they told you not to be, to chase your dreams relentlessly, to build a life they said was impossible, to rise unapologetically. Because your growth is not disloyalty, it is liberation. 6. Using tradition to justify harm. One of the most insidious ways a family can control you is by hiding abuse behind tradition. They don't say outright, we want to hurt you. They wrap it in language everyone respects, this is how we've always done things. It's tradition. Family is sacred. This is just how we are. Because tradition feels sacred, it becomes untouchable, a shield for behavior that is cruel, unfair, controlling. How tradition becomes a weapon. At first, it seems harmless. Your family tells you, respect your elders no matter what. In our family, we never question authority. This is how we do things, and you will learn to accept it. These lessons feel like guidance, culture, love. But slowly, tradition starts to demand compliance over conscience. You're told to accept abuse because that's the way it's always been done. Other families do worse. You must respect the family's way. In that language of duty, cruelty becomes invisible. Why it hurts so deeply? Tradition is powerful because it attacks two things at once, your autonomy and your morality. Tradition says you don't get to decide, you must follow. Tradition says that what feels wrong is actually right because it's always been done this way. When someone uses tradition to justify harm, you're trapped in a mental paradox. I feel pain, I feel wrong, but I'm supposed to accept it because it's family, because it's tradition, because everyone says so. This makes it almost impossible to argue, resist, or even leave. Examples in families. Tradition can justify harm in many forms, controlling who you marry or date, enforcing silence about abuse, punishing independence as disloyalty, using rituals or roles to trap you in obedience, denying your choices because it's not how we do things. All of these teach the same lesson: your freedom is less important than preserving the family's image. The psychology behind it. Humans crave belonging. We are wired to respect elders, honor culture, follow social roles. Toxic family members weaponize that wiring. They know that if they frame harm as tradition, your mind will hesitate. You'll question yourself, doubt whether your instincts are valid, feel guilty for resisting. And the cycle continues. The hidden message. Every time someone uses tradition to justify harm, the underlying message is, your feelings, your choices, your autonomy, they don't matter. We are the law here, and you will obey. Change is dangerous. You are dangerous. Over time, you internalize it. You question your own judgment, doubt your own instincts, shrink. Stoic perspective. The Stoics teach that virtue, reason, and justice always outweigh custom. Just because something has been done for generations does not make it right. A tradition that destroys your peace is not sacred, it is dysfunctional, a prison disguised as guidance. Your ancestors' mistakes are not instructions for your life. Breaking free. You do not have to respect tradition over your well-being. You do not have to endure abuse to honor family rituals. Breaking free means seeing harm for what it is, even when wrapped in culture, choosing your conscience over conformity, protecting your peace even if others call it disrespect, realizing that real respect is earned, not coerced. Final truth. Toxic family members will always hide cruelty behind words like a tradition or culture. But true tradition uplifts, strengthens, guides, it does not destroy. And the moment you refuse to obey harmful tradition, you discover the freedom that generations of fear could not take from you. 7. Forcing you to keep secrets. One of the most dangerous weapons in a toxic family is the command to keep secrets. It rarely comes as anger or threats. It comes wrapped in words like, family matters stay in the family. Some things are private even from friends. Don't embarrass the family. This is for your own good. At first, it seems harmless, responsible, protective, even loving. But this isn't protection, this is control. This is training you to be complicit in harm. When a family forces you to keep secrets, they are teaching you, silently but powerfully, that your instincts, your conscience, your voice do not matter. They are telling you that obedience is more important than truth, that your feelings are secondary to the family's image, that your morality can be bent to preserve comfort, that loyalty means silence even when silence is dangerous. Why families use secret keeping as control? Secrets are a form of power. When someone shares their shame, mistakes, or wrongdoing and then tells you not to tell anyone, they are making you responsible for their guilt. Suddenly, you are the keeper of their fear, the protector of their reputation, the gatekeeper of their image. The psychological leverage is immediate. If you speak the truth, you feel guilt, disloyalty, fear. You begin to question yourself, am I betraying them? Even if you are witnessing something abusive, by enforcing silence, toxic families maintain control, and you often unknowingly become an accomplice. The damage of forced secrecy. Being forced to keep secrets can quietly destroy your mind and your life. You begin doubting your instincts, questioning whether speaking up is wrong. You feel isolated even when surrounded by loved ones. You internalize shame that does not belong to you. You stop trusting your own judgment. You become hyper-aware of others' expectations while losing touch with your own. Over time, you lose the ability to distinguish between loyalty and manipulation, between love and control. You begin to believe that silence is a moral obligation. This is the quiet, insidious damage of forced secrecy. Everyday examples. Family members may say, "What happens here stays here. You can't tell anyone. It would destroy the family. You owe us your discretion. Some things are better left unsaid. You're betraying us if you share this." Notice what's happening. They are taking your agency and replacing it with their fear. You are being trained to bear the weight of their shame, guilt, or wrongdoing. And the more you comply, the stronger the lesson becomes. Silence is obedience. Obedience is love. And questioning is disloyalty. The real danger. Secrets are never neutral. They hide abuse, manipulation, lies, dysfunction, patterns that hurt others. By forcing you to remain silent, toxic families protect themselves and perpetuate cycles of harm. And you, the person keeping the secret, carry a heavy emotional burden, shame, anxiety, fear, tension, a sense of responsibility for problems that aren't yours. This weight can last decades if unrecognized. Stoic perspective. The Stoics believe that truth and virtue are non-negotiable. Your mind is your domain. Your conscience is your compass. No tradition, fear, or claim of loyalty should compel you to betray your integrity. Silence that harms you is not loyalty. Obedience that destroys your conscience is not respect. Your moral responsibility begins with yourself, not the comfort of others. Breaking free. Reclaiming your power from enforced secrecy requires courage. Recognize the manipulation. Understand that forcing you to keep secrets is about control, not protection. Decide which secrets are harmful. Some private matters are benign, but abuse and wrongdoing are not yours to hide. Speak your truth when it matters. Silence is not required when someone is being harmed. Protect your conscience. Your integrity is non-negotiable. Set clear boundaries. Some people will never respect your right to truth. Emotional distance may be necessary. Every truth you reclaim, every secret you refuse to carry, every boundary you enforce is a step toward freedom. Final truth. Families that force you to keep secrets are not protecting you, they are controlling you. Loyalty is not measured by silence, it is measured by integrity, by courage, by the willingness to uphold truth even when others resist it. The strongest, bravest thing you can do is refuse to be anyone's keeper of shame. Because freedom begins the moment you stop carrying secrets that aren't yours. 10. Making you earn basic respect. In some toxic families, respect is not freely given, not for who you are, not for your dignity, not for simply existing as a human being. Instead, it must be earned constantly, endlessly, as if your very worth is conditional. You need to do better. You need to prove yourself. Respect is not automatic. At first, it feels like guidance. But guidance disguised as expectation is a trap. Because when respect is conditional, it becomes a weapon, a tool to manipulate, a chain that keeps you bending, pleasing, shrinking. How it works. Conditional respect trains you to seek approval constantly. Your achievements are never enough. Your boundaries are questioned. Your opinions are dismissed until they meet someone else's standard. Your feelings are only valid if they are convenient for others. Every act of obedience or success is measured, criticized, graded. And if you fail to meet expectations, even in small ways, you are punished with disrespect. The message is clear, you are not worthy unless you prove it. And over time, you begin to believe it. The psychological toll. Being forced to earn basic respect is exhausting. You walk on eggshells, constantly fearing disapproval. You suppress your thoughts, desires, boundaries to avoid conflict. You overcompensate, striving for perfection in unsustainable ways. You start to equate your worth with compliance, achievement, recognition. This pattern erodes confidence, clarity, peace. You're left questioning whether your intrinsic value, your human worth, is valid at all. Why families do this? Toxic family members use conditional respect as a tool of control. It keeps you obedient. It ensures you prioritize their comfort over your growth. It allows them to dominate your emotions, choices, actions. It ensures you remain tethered to their judgment rather than your own conscience. The truth is simple, unconditional respect is rare in toxic households. Every compliment, acknowledgement, or praise is calculated to reinforce their authority. What it sounds like. Common phrases include: you need to earn it. Respect is not automatic. I won't treat you seriously until you prove yourself. People like you have to work harder for respect. Do better if you want acknowledgement. Each phrase chips away at your confidence. Each conditions you to measure your worth externally rather than internally. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics taught that true dignity and respect come from within. You cannot control how others perceive you, their approval, their recognition. But you can control your actions, integrity, self-respect. When others withhold basic respect to manipulate you, their behavior is a reflection of their weakness, not yours. Breaking free. Reclaiming respect in a toxic family requires awareness and courage. Recognize the manipulation. Understand that conditional respect is a tool to control, not a measure of your worth. Refuse to internalize their judgment. Your value does not depend on approval. Enforce boundaries. Respect yourself even when they do not. Protect your dignity. Speak your truth and live by your principles. Choose your battles wisely. Some people will never acknowledge your worth, and that is not your responsibility. Every act of self-respect chips away at their power. Every refusal to seek approval restores your inner freedom. Final truth. No one should make you earn the respect that is fundamental to being human. Toxic families weaponize conditional respect to control, manipulate, dominate. But you have the power to validate your own worth, protect your dignity, walk with confidence knowing that respect for yourself is non-negotiable. And the moment you stop asking for permission to be treated with decency, you reclaim the authority that should have been yours all along. 11. Playing the victim to avoid accountability. One of the most frustrating and toxic behaviors in families is when someone constantly plays the victim to avoid responsibility. They are never wrong. Their mistakes are never their fault. Every problem, conflict, consequence is always someone else's doing. I can't help it. Life's always against me. You don't understand what I've been through. I'm the one who suffers here. At first, it may evoke sympathy, even make you feel guilty for pointing out their behavior. But this is manipulation, a method of shifting blame, dodging accountability, controlling your emotions. How victimhood controls you. When someone plays the victim, they aren't just avoiding responsibility, they are controlling your response. You feel guilty for challenging them, obligated to comfort them, unjust for pointing out their behavior. You start doubting your own perspective because their narrative frames them as the wrong party. The effect is subtle but devastating. They manipulate your empathy, sense of fairness, patience. They force you to prioritize their feelings over your boundaries. And when you resist, they escalate. You're attacking me. You're so unfair. Why do you never consider what I go through? Suddenly, you're on the defensive, apologizing for noticing reality, questioning your own sanity. This is the essence of emotional manipulation. The psychological toll. Living with someone who constantly plays the victim erodes your confidence and clarity. You doubt your instincts, question your morality, suppress your needs to avoid triggering their narrative. You feel trapped, responsible for their emotions. Over time, you may even internalize their victimhood, believing every relationship is about managing other people's pain. You lose track of your own agency. Your peace becomes conditional on someone else's willingness to face reality. Why families use victimhood? Playing the victim is a classic manipulation tactic. It ensures you defer to their authority, excuse their harmful behavior, carry the emotional burden of their mistakes. They remain unaccountable without consequences. Some use it consciously, some unconsciously. Either way, the effect is the same. They maintain control over your behavior, emotions, boundaries. What it sounds like. Phrases often include, I can't help it. Life is always against me. Why do you always blame me? I'm the one suffering here. You're so insensitive to what I'm going through. Nobody understands me like this. Notice the pattern. Every statement deflects accountability, demands emotional labor from you, shifts focus away from their choices and onto your response. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics teach that you cannot control others, only your own actions and judgments. Someone playing the victim is trying to control your emotions and force compliance. Your task is not to rescue them or manage their feelings, it's to act with reason, integrity, courage regardless of their attempts to manipulate you. Their narrative is theirs. Your peace is yours. Breaking free. Breaking free from victim manipulation requires awareness and emotional boundaries. Recognize the tactic, identify when someone is playing the victim to avoid responsibility. Detach from their narrative, their story is theirs, not yours. Maintain your boundaries, you can empathize without becoming their caretaker. Hold them accountable, refuse to excuse harmful behavior simply because they claim suffering. Protect your energy, limit contact if necessary to avoid emotional exhaustion. Every boundary you enforce weakens their control. Every refusal to accept blame restores your autonomy. Every decision to prioritize your clarity over their narrative is liberation. Final truth. Playing the victim is not vulnerability, it is a tactic to avoid accountability, manipulate emotions, control those around them. You cannot force someone to take responsibility or acknowledge the harm they cause. But you can control your response. And the moment you stop carrying the weight of someone else's manufactured suffering, you reclaim your power, your peace, your life. 12. Emotional neglect. Some of the most damaging family behaviors are invisible. They don't come as shouting, insults, threats. They come as silence, absence, indifference. Emotional neglect is when a family consistently fails to acknowledge your feelings, needs, experiences, when love, care, attention is conditional, sporadic, absent. When you learn that your emotions are not worthy of recognition, stop being so sensitive. You're overreacting. Why do you always need attention? These aren't harmless phrases, they are lessons. Your feelings are inconvenient. Your needs are secondary. Your inner world is unimportant. Over time, these lessons sink deep into your psyche. How emotional neglect manifests. Emotional neglect is subtle but relentless. Your achievements are ignored or dismissed. Your struggles are minimized. Your pain is met with indifference or criticism. Your successes may provoke jealousy or silence. Your attempts to connect are met with distance or avoidance. The effect is insidious, you begin to question your own worth. You feel invisible even in the presence of those who are supposed to love you. You start to silence yourself, thinking your feelings don't matter. The psychological damage. Living with emotional neglect can have long-term effects: chronic low self-esteem, difficulty expressing emotions, feeling undeserving of love or care, trouble trusting others or forming healthy relationships, internalized shame and self-blame. Children learn that needs are burdens, and adults carry that belief for decades. Neglect teaches a cruel truth: if you want your feelings acknowledged, you must fight for them, or worse, you learn to hide them entirely, suppressing your voice for survival. Why families engage in emotional neglect? Sometimes neglect stems from ignorance or emotional incapacity. Other times, it is intentional, a means of maintaining control by withholding emotional support. They keep you dependent on their approval for validation. They ensure you doubt your self-worth. They make you question your perceptions, choices, feelings. Neglect may be subtle, but it is powerful. It shapes your inner world and teaches self-doubt. What it sounds like. Phrases often include: stop being dramatic. Other people have it worse. I don't have time for your feelings. You're too sensitive. Silence when you need support. Indifference to your accomplishments or struggles. Notice the common theme: your internal experience is invisible to them. Your emotions exist only to be ignored or invalidated. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics teach that we cannot rely on others for emotional validation. Your feelings are yours to observe and manage. Your inner peace is your responsibility. Your happiness does not depend on others' acknowledgement. While neglect can shape you, it cannot define you unless you allow it. You can recognize their failure, but you do not need to internalize it. You can honor your emotions even when others do not. Breaking free. Breaking free from emotional neglect requires awareness and self-reliance. Validate yourself, recognize your feelings even if others don't. Set boundaries, limit contact with those who consistently invalidate your emotions. Seek healthy support, surround yourself with people who acknowledge and respect you. Rebuild trust in yourself, learn that your feelings are real and worthy. Practice emotional independence, your peace and self-worth cannot be held hostage by neglect. Every act of self-validation chips away at the control neglect imposes. Every refusal to rely on others' approval strengthens your autonomy. Every boundary you enforce restores your emotional freedom. Final truth. Emotional neglect is not harmless. It teaches invisibility. It enforces self-doubt. It shapes your inner world to be small, quiet, dependent. But your emotions are yours. Your value is inherent. Your experiences are real. The moment you stop relying on validation from those who refuse to give it and start honoring your own feelings and needs, you reclaim your voice, your power, your life. Toxic family behaviors are not just inconvenient, they are dangerous patterns that can steal your peace, confidence, and life force if left unchecked. Remember this. You are not responsible for other people's choices. You are not required to endure abuse to maintain a relationship. You are not obligated to compromise your integrity, boundaries, or happiness for the comfort of someone else's ego. Setting limits is not betrayal. Walking away is not disloyalty. Prioritizing your growth and mental health is not selfish, it is essential. The people who truly love and respect you will never demand that you shrink to fit their insecurities. They will never weaponize fear, guilt, or tradition against your soul. They will not shame you for wanting more or make you earn basic respect, because real respect is unconditional. Your freedom begins the moment you recognize these behaviors, call them out, and take control of your life. It's not easy. It's not simple. But it is necessary, because a life lived under manipulation is not a life at all. A life where your peace, growth, and dignity are optional is a life half-lived. So today, choose yourself. Set the boundaries. Protect your energy. Walk forward with courage, clarity, and confidence. Because the strongest, most unstoppable